Community of Practice Facilitator with the Office of Learning Technology. And myself and with my colleague Emily, we have organized this session on the Teaching and Learning with Technology series, where we have invited you to come and take part in this discussion, interactive discussion, on the Horizon Report, Unplugged, with Rob Peregodoff, who is the Manager of Learning Technologies at the Sauder School of Business. So with no further ado, and with excitement over how many clickers there are in the room, we will begin. And yeah,
okay.
Here we go. Thank you, Rob.
Great, thank you very much. As mentioned, I'm Rob Peregodoff, recently hired Manager of Learning Technologies with the Sauder School of Business. Essentially what that means is I'm an embedded resource for Sauder. I'm an extension of the OLT office. My job is to support faculty and instructors, students with the integration of the technology. It's not necessarily my job to make sure the bells and whistles work. It's my job to make sure that they work properly. In other words, the outcomes that the students and the faculty expect are what we achieve. Really excited to be here today to go through this Horizon Report. I want to thank Emily and Catherine for the invitation. Always nice when you get a chance to meet colleagues and get out of the cubicle. I don't know if any of you know, Sauder's undergone a fairly serious building construction phase, and we've recently moved into what we're calling the Sauder call center. If you're ever in the building and come up to the third floor, you can see what it's like. It's a pretty fun place these days. So, by way of quick introduction, first and foremost, what I'd always like to say is I am an educator. I'm not a technology person. I graduated from Lethbridge with B.Ed and M.Ed, Math and English, and I come to the world of educational technology, again, not from the technology perspective, but from the educational perspective. And I think it's a key distinction. The road that how did I find myself in this road? When I first graduated, I spent 4 years in Swaziland, a little country in sub-Saharan Africa, where I was working with WUSC, World University Service of Canada. And it was here that I first started, this was 91, 92, first started to see the huge gap between technology and education. Essentially, you had educators who thought that they needed to put these newfangled computers, they needed to use them, and you had technology salespeople coming in wanting to sell them everything. And so a lot of money was spent, a lot of equipment was bought, and then it gathered dust. I think everyone's nodding their heads, they've experienced that. From there, I then went and spent 4 years at Red Crow Community College on the Gunawa Reserve in Alberta, the Blood Reserve. It's in between Cardston and Fort Macleod. There I was, again, math and IT instructor for the University of Lethbridge, and I was also managing, it's here that I first started to get into sort of the administrative side of educational technology. Really had a wonderful 4 years. I think many of my educational colleagues come away from teaching on reserve, some not having the best of experiences. I really enjoyed mine, and always happy to share stories if anyone's interested to listen. From the Blood Reserve, I then met my wife in Lethbridge, and we just recently spent 6 years in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, and where my son was born. No, he doesn't have a passport. Everyone always asks that question. I wish he did, but he didn't. He doesn't have a passport. What was really interesting about the time in Dubai was where I was working with the nationals. I was working with Emiratis, and it was an environment by which funds were unlimited. We had unlimited money. We had the best technology in the world, but we had really unmotivated students. And I always thought to myself, the bridge that I always mentally was making was, boy, I wish I could take some of my students from Swaziland who were walking 4 kilometers barefoot to get to my class, and I've got chalk and not really a blackboard, and that's it, and put them into this incredibly rich technology environment. So at any rate, it was in Dubai that I made the leap into educational administration, and I find myself today. What I'd like to do is, rather than sort of asking everyone to go around the room and introduce yourself, what I'll ask you to do is actually turn to your neighbor and just quickly introduce yourself if you don't already know each other, name and where you're from. Okay, that's enough. Class. Class. Okay. I see. Okay. All right, that's enough group activity for this group. It was always fun starting group activities in Swaziland when you had a class of 60 students in a room that was probably about this size. It was, you had to be prepared for the noise level. You've all have clickers. Please make sure you turn them on. They tend to work better when the little blue light is on. A power button on the bottom. So the first question I'd just like to ask is this one. Just a quick intro about the Horizon Report. What is your engagement with the Horizon Report? Please wait for me to start the polling before everyone's... And please vote now. And we're about... Sure. Excellent. Wow, half of the room. That's interesting. Okay, well now I got to change my whole presentation. That's the problem with participatory lessons. Yeah, you know, that's right. It's like, oh, well, I didn't expect that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next one is the question, my level of engagement with technology is best summed up by which of the following statements? And taken from the late, great Charlton Heston. Please vote now. Well, you see, that's the thing. I'm forcing you into, you got to choose one of them. All right, there we go. We'll go 16. Ah. Yeah, absolutely. Or Facebook addicts. Facebook and Twitter addicts, probably. No, that's all right. Okay, that's great. Okay, so we don't have any of the cold, dead hand in the room. What I'll ask someone to do is, you've all been in conversations around the water cooler. You've all heard people talk. I'd be welcoming and fascinating to hear you argue from that perspective. Argue from the cold, dead hand perspective. Feel free to play the devil's advocate at any of the points in the conversation. Okay, let's jump into the Horizon Report. Just some quick overview information about what it is. It's a report that has been produced now for 7 years. It is a collaboration between a group called the New Media Consortium and the EDUCAUSE Learning Initiative. Essentially, I don't want to spend too much time on these groups, but suffice to say that these are both nonprofit organizations in the United States that are considered world leaders in educational technology. And on EDUCAUSE's, particularly EDUCAUSE, they're not necessarily technology focused. Their mandate is much larger education. They have found themselves in the technology realm, I think, just by osmosis. So as it says here, we've had about 400 leaders. They do pull in a wide, diverse group of contributors to the Horizon Report, and I really believe that's what's made it such an influential document over the years, because it isn't, it's quite a broad-based document. It doesn't have a lot of, in theory, doesn't have a lot of biases. The entire selection process is entirely transparent. You can actually watch the Horizon Report being collated and conducted. For the 2010 report, the process was started in September of 2009, and the report was published in January, February. So you can actually watch that collaborative process go through to see where we are at the point today. Each report has the exact same characteristics. And that is, it will identify 6 major technologies. And it's here where, as your tour guide today for this document, I'm going to step in and out of tour guide and then opinion. And here's an opinion. It is about the technologies for the Horizon Report. In other words, many of you, you've all been to presentations. Some of you are in educational technology now, and the mantra is, it's not about the technology. It's about the learning, and which is good. Just to focus that this document does actually specify technologies. It then goes on to say how those technologies are implemented and it goes across 3 adoption horizons. Their self-claim, it's not a predictive tool. What they try to do is to say, these are things that we believe are going to be influential within the teaching, learning, and creative inquiry fields. I thought it would be relevant to just let you know that we do have 3 local contributors to Horizon reports over the years. Scott Leslie from BC Campus. How many of you are, okay, put your clickers down, hands up. How many of you are aware of BC Campus? Just out of curiosity? Okay, great. If you're not, come and ask myself, Emily, or Catherine. It's an organization here in the province that if you're involved in educational technology, they can be very helpful. George Siemens from Athabasca University, probably a person you're working with or have worked with.
Not directly, but online.
Yeah. Wow, okay, so that'd be an interesting conversation. And also Cyprian Lomas, who's currently in Queensland, but was here at the University of British Columbia, has been a long-time contributor of this report. Okay, what I thought we would do very quickly is I would take you back through, for a few minutes, take you back through a retrospective of what the reports told us over the years. So the initial report, 2004, these were the initial 6 technologies, as well as the time horizons that they've set, the short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on each of these. We could, but what I just want to make sure is that everyone is relatively comfortable with what they're seeing up on the screen. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll pass back to you. Is there anything on there that you'd like me to expand on? Is there anything in there that you're not sure about? Going once, going twice. And we'll move to 2005, where they started talking about ubiquitous wireless, intelligent searching. What's another term? What do we commonly refer to intelligent searching as? It's a verb now. We Google. Another side note, if none of you have seen Wolfram Alpha, a website called Wolfram Alpha, unbelievable. Taking knowledge, intelligent searching to a whole new level. Absolutely fascinating. One that I find interesting, and I'm actually going to go to the next one to show it again, educational gaming. And we all know where that's gone. And essentially there's no money in it. It's amazing. It's a many billion-dollar industry now. Everybody's doing it, but for some reason in education we just can't grab a hold of it. Sorry? Kind of like learning objects, yes. Absolutely. Okay, anything in there that you would like me to address or to expand on at all? Okay, I'll move on to the 2007, where we first see virtual worlds in the report. They started talking about this, more commonly known as Second Life. How many of you have ever played in Second Life? Again, clickers down, hands up. Do you still? No. Yeah, me too. Every once in a while I go and have an alter experience. Yeah, I heard a very interesting quote the other day. Someone said, the movie Avatar just would not have been the movie that it is had Second Life not come in, because the whole notion of Avatar really was come from that. Yes?
I was reading a couple news articles around Avatar and how people were depressed after watching the movie because their real life wasn't as glamorous as this world that was created.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh. So the question was, just for our viewing audience at home, was just a comment about an article of people being depressed after watching the movie Avatar because of the disconnect between the real life and the exciting Avatar virtual life. Absolutely. One of the interesting ones that we also saw in 2007 was new scholarship in forms of publishing, and that's one I think directly related and impacting us here at UBC. Move to 2008, grassroots video, otherwise known as YouTube. Absolutely. They just pulled it in. Yeah, right? That's, yeah, almost. And 2009, again, we start to see mobiles. We start to see cloud computing for the first time. The notion of the personal web. Geo everything. So I have an iPhone, and I got to tell you, one of the coolest things, there's an app on the iPhone that you can download, and wherever you point your iPhone, it'll give you like a tour guide of what you're looking at. Restaurants and museums, and I tried it at Wreck Beach, but it didn't. I was thinking to myself on my way here, if we were really into mobile computing, I could have taken this presentation and we could have gone down to Wreck Beach, but I thought, nah, probably wouldn't have the same impact. Right, that's right, and we can carry it down the stairs. Okay, so I thought this would be an interesting, these are the predictions that have been made over the years, and it's interesting to see sort of where we were and where we are now. The other part to the Horizon report is that they started in about 2007, I believe. They started addressing what they call key trends that are impacting on educational technology, as well as key challenges. Now, what I'd like to do now is I actually want to spend some time on these key trends because they really give us the packaging of the technologies that we're going to take a look at in a few minutes. So what I'd like to do now is this statement: abundance of resources and relationships made easily via the internet is increasingly challenging us to revisit our roles as educators in sense-making, coaching, and credentialing. Please prepare your vote. Sure, yeah. Catherine's just going to take, we've written these individual sheets up, or I say we, she did. So she's just going to keep these on the screen as we go through the rest of the technologies. So universities that expect to survive can no longer operate status quo because of the internet. Please vote now. As we're all sitting in our cabanas, our beach cabanas. And Catherine wants to vote. Okay, let's see how we did. Wow. We did have two who disagree. Would it behoove me to ask one of the disagreeers to comment? Yeah, we were having a conversation the other day about technology, and I've come to the conclusion you can never fully eliminate human error.
The problem with this is that, once you reach middle age, it's really hard to
But
it's not designed for anyone over 40.
you can do the Braille thing. You can kind of. Okay, is the other person who said disagree? Would they like to speak up, or how? What about one of the fence sitters? Comment from a fence sitter. Oh, come on, be brave. We won't put the camera on you. Okay. The next one is this statement. People expect to be able to work, learn, and study whenever and wherever they want. So, should we be giving all of UBC students the choice to attend classes face-to-face or remotely, synchronously or asynchronously? Please vote now. Wow. We have a room full of revolutionaries. Comments on that? Yes?
I'd like to see more than having a choice of being not there or on site and so forth, but to have some choice about some are remote and some are together.
Exactly. It's interesting, the pendulum swing that we tended to take. It was all students must be in the classroom in the brick and mortar, or all students must be distance education. Can't I go into a class at the start, and maybe 3 or 4 weeks into it, realize, wow, I got this already. Like, I know what I need to do. I know that I still have to pass a final exam, so that's fine. Let me do that, but don't make me come every day. Why can't I go and do my job or spend time with my family and then engage in the content as I require, and still fulfill that requirement? But we don't give students that option. Any of the disagrees want to speak up, please?
I've been teaching in the post-secondary setting for 7 years.
Okay.
What I'm finding, especially in the last 4 years, is students are really having difficulty communicating with me one-on-one. They're nervous to speak to me face-to-face,
Yep.
but they will send very poorly written emails. They will do things through technology that I think, we all talk about the millennial generation, I think we have to bridge it.
Yep.
Where they're saying, but like the number 4 and the letter U is a word, and they're but to them it's their reality. So I agree with the idea. The reason I said disagree is I completely agree with the opportunity to do both, but I find that students that I am approving, giving credit to, saying go into the world and be the next great leader,
Yep.
cannot speak to me, let alone address a room at
Yeah.
a conference or anything like
Right.
that. So I feel it's my responsibility to kind of encourage them to do the face-to-face work.
Yeah.
as well.
So now let me give you a personal story. So in Dubai, what I realized during Ramadan, Ramadan is the time of fasting, sunrise to sunset. The students that I had were just useless, because what happens, a lot of people don't know this, but during Ramadan, people gain weight, tremendous amounts of weight, because every night is Christmas. They party. As soon as the cannon goes off, it's a feast, and they play volleyball, and they stay up all night with their friends, and it's a lot of fun. But they still had to come to my class. And what would they do in my class? Well, they'd sleep. What I realized through the technology was that some of the students, I usually had groups of 20. What I could do is, I'd be teaching a calculus course or a networking course. I would take the first day and I would hammer through the content, traditional lecture. Power, this is what you need to know. I would find 5 or 6 of the students would go, yeah, okay, now let me go away. And I could monitor them through the technology, but they didn't need to physically be in the room. The next day I'd come in and I'd do some more master kind of teaching, some group work and all kinds of stuff. The other maybe 10 students would go, wow, well, my buddies just walked out the door. Okay, they'd engage with it, they'd leave, which left me with the 5 who really needed me. And it was brilliant. So I had this small group who, exactly the students that you want, but I didn't have the noise of the other students who were sleeping, or they weren't happy, or they were Facebooking, or they were Twittering, or they were doing whatever, because we gave them the choice. Please.
Do you feel that the ones with the choice, this is the challenge that I face, is this idea of they don't know yet what they don't know or they need to know. And so my challenge is in the workplace, I've worked at UBC for years, and I have people on my staff that are 60 and people on my staff that are 23 or 24. And I've seen that kind of difference between the way the young people are working and the people who are the baby boomers.
Yep.
And so I feel so it's my responsibility to give them the tools they need that they don't know they need to be successful people from other kind of backgrounds and eras, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel in that scenario that you met the needs of the students that thought they would be fine to leave or something the internet?
Yeah, because
I feel like perhaps I overstep my boundary feeling like I own this responsibility, but maybe it's not.
no, don't give it up, for sure. If you're going to make an error, definitely own it rather than forgetting about it, for sure. Now, I have to, I did sit on the laurels of teaching a hard science, where the knowledge, the stuff that they needed to learn was the goal. And I would agree that the sort of softer skills that our students need to know today, much more difficult debate, for sure. So I wouldn't say that there's an apple-to-apple comparison there. However, what I would say is that can we give the students some sort of a, I don't want to say the word assessment, but is there some way that students could demonstrate? If I can take another example, we have a writing course at Sauder, it's COM 486, and all students must take it, all students must pass it. But I know that in the month of September, half of the students can write at the acceptable level to graduate. They could, but we still force them to sit and, grind it out. Anyway, any other comments to that? That's a good.
I think it's a personality from with the
Yes.
And there has to be a mechanism to determine it. And once you determine that they can't handle online, then you have to put them into the face-to-face.
And I should clarify, in the groups that I was working with, if I was monitoring the student work and their work fell, or they didn't hand it in, or they failed a quiz, I'd tell them, you got to come back in. And I'd pull them back into the class, and they'd join the group that was there. So it wasn't a get-out-of-jail-free card completely. But it was the technology that allowed me to do that. So, okay, let's move. Oh, sorry, another question? Yes.
It really depends on what you're trying to teach your students. We teach our students a lot of collaborative competencies and communication skills, and we found that, we can give them some of the content areas that those for them remotely, but then we still need to give them together face-to-face those types of competencies.
Sure.
You really have to look at what you're teaching and
Yeah. So get granular, what can be done through that medium and what needs to be done in this medium. Yeah, absolutely. Technologies we use are increasingly cloud-based, and our notions of IT support are decentralized. Cloud computing. How many of you, just out of show of hands, how many of you have heard of Dropbox? Okay, those of you that haven't, so here's my laptop. You could steal it right now, and I don't care. All of my files, I have 3 automatic synchronizations of all of my documentation. This could be run over by a bus, and I don't care. But that's not the question I'm going to ask you. The question is this one, or statement. So, open book, open internet. You're running an assessment. If students want to bring the world into that assessment, it should be open internet. We had a case at Sauder this past spring where a student was caught in the washroom with their mobile phone browsing, searching. Sorry, I should start the voting.
Rob,
Yes.
so all assessments that would normally be fill in the blank kind of things?
Well,
Because there's all range of assessments, right? So if someone was, if a normal process of assessment for that particular course
Mhm.
or subject matter was to give an oral review of something,
yeah, that wouldn't.
so are we talking?
Well, let me ask this question. I'm your PhD defense, and you've asked me a question that I believe I know the answer to, but if I was allowed to do a quick reference check, I could give you the definitive answer. Is that wrong?
Well, how many times do you have to put that?
Good question. Okay, we still have a number of fence sitters. Okay, I'll stop it there. Absolutely. Now, the reason I asked that question actually goes towards credentialing, if you that first word back. One of the big challenges that we face as we move into this open world is, how do we assess all this stuff? How do we give it a grade that means something? Or do we? Okay, let's follow that thread. Do we have to give grades? Well, I would argue that I went to the hospital yesterday for a consult with a surgeon. I would hope that he passed all of his assessments.
But past assessments doesn't necessarily mean grades, though.
Okay.
Like, what if we had a whole different world and doctors were trained in a different way where they had to display and demonstrate meeting competencies that, of course, would professionally determine?
Okay, I'd see that as a hair splitting. I think meeting those competencies is the key, whether you do it by assessment or by.
It is completely different. Grades are really about me deciding something about you, but proving competency is really about me deciding whether or not I'm ready based on what the expectations are.
Okay, so now let me ask the question. I've got a choice to go to, I'm going to have brain surgery. I got 2 choices. One doctor is competent. Another doctor was first in their class. I'd probably go to the doctor first in his class if I could, or her class.
When you go in as a patient?
I could find out on the internet. I'm being a devil's advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate. But this is a really difficult question.
So here's an example of a student who is considered to be a super duper resident, a subject based and kind of with confidence.
Yep.
Student had all kinds of accolades. And the intern went into this practice and they did an abortion. Student put the abortion through and him, another one sentenced to death.
Whoa.
So, top marks, best surgeon.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you got me there.
There are a variety of ways of assessing skills, right?
I agree. Okay.
But those are different skills, right? So to me, that's, you're assessing two different skills there, right? There's the skill to perform surgery,
Yes,
and
but also
there's interpersonal skills, and those are two different things.
Yeah, but top marks aren't always relevant to best. Yeah, I do agree, yeah.
It's an interesting conversation. It's a really interesting, and they've correctly identified it as the notion of cloud. Like basically, the reason I brought the question is can we ignore the cloud? Can we, like, we actually had a request that during our assessments at Sauder, we need to turn off the internet. We've got to turn off the wireless. We've got to turn off the satellites. We've got to turn everything off. No, we can't do that.
That's not a normal environment either.
Sauder, I agree.
That's not where you're working in real life. So if you're confident in a real life situation, then you would be using the internet to find, you can't know everything.
Okay, hold that thought for 1 second. Yeah, hold that thought because it's going to come back around in a second. The role of the academy and the way we prepare students for their future lives is changing. I missed the slide somewhere, but that's okay. We're going to move on to the challenges. Yeah, there was another slide that talked about collaboration, but somehow in the mix it came out, but that's okay. We're going to move on to this one.
Do you want me to just leave this up?
Yeah, put it up anyway. Yeah, thank you. So this one, the role of the academy and the way we prepare students for their future lives is changing. So how about this question, which is exactly what you had just asked. And I'll ask you to vote now.
Is not or should not?
Should not be as important. You're not an English teacher, are you? Right. Okay, should not. Okay, I will stop there. Wow. That's way more than I expected to see agree to that statement. But we still ask students to prepare for a 3-hour exam where the only thing they can take in is their pencil.
But over the whole course, they have to be able to analyze and apply and not just apply the knowledge.
No, but what I'm saying here, but what the statement is saying is that the possession of that knowledge is no longer important.
I'm not saying it's no longer important. You're saying it's not as important.
Not as important. But I would argue, I think in our current institutional environment, it still is. We are still giving memorization type exams.
But only as part of an overall assessment strategy. There are applications as well.
And would weightings be higher or lower?
Well, they vary, don't they?
Yeah, please.
So I just finished a Bachelor of Science
Yeah.
in 2009, and I started working for UBCs since then. But in terms of my experience as a student, I did a geology degree where you have to memorize minerals.
Yeah.
It's a base knowledge that you're expected to have because when we move on to further analysis of data, not having that knowledge impedes our ability to do that.
Okay.
And that's the reason. And I agree that it's not as important, but I still see the value in it.
Okay. Yeah.
And for me, that's value. And being able to make a decision right away or in a timely manner when I'm, let's say, for a professional working out in the field for a mining company,
Right.
be able to decide whether we drill or not, spend $1 million a day drilling
Yeah.
or not.
But would you make that decision without referencing the internet in some way or fashion?
In some places, when you're off working in a remote space, you can't. You literally cannot access anything. And so they rely on...
Oh, satellite phones.
Right?
Yeah.
They rely heavily on people's knowledge and experience.
Sure.
There are certain industries where definitely this does not apply at all, and you can look anything up you want.
Yeah.
But there are still, in certain industries, certain careers, and certain professions where that's not the case. Or even counseling for that matter. If you're sitting in front of a student and counseling them,
Yep.
you need to know your theory. You need to know what appropriate mitigation steps are for a student in crisis. Because you're not going to say, hold on 1 second, let me just go look something up. It'll take me a couple hours, I'll come back to you. Because if you have a student who's suicide or not. That is very
Yeah, that's a scenario I agree.
I guess me playing devil's advocate here. Is
Sure, which is good. Yeah.
Where you need to know your stuff.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Comments? Yes?
I realize I'm a dinosaur, I just learned this in the last 15 minutes. I'm dealing with a case right now where a student has plagiarized an entire term paper, and his argument is this: the information I give you is correct, I have the capacity to find it. And we're arguing, but it's not yours. You're not thinking, you're copying it.
Yep.
And his argument is, it's not whether I know it, it's whether this paper is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that attitude terrifies me because his reliance on the thinking and work of others makes it seem like thinking will become a dinosaur, and applying other people's thoughts
Yeah.
becomes, to this young man, the most important thing. So I think that we have to have a balance of both. I don't think we can make a blanket statement on this where, you know, I use knowledge all the time that I don't actually possess. I've mastered that in some areas. And I possess a lot of knowledge that I don't use.
How could you use it?
But maybe I'll address it. It's the fleeting notion of possession. I can look something up. I can read it. I can understand it. I can use it, and then I immediately discard it. I don't own it at all.
So maybe I misunderstood your meaning in the question.
Potentially, yeah. Without question, the statement was meant to generate discussion. It's not obviously.
I was assuming that acquisition incorporates possession. Possession is part of it. You acquire something and then you possess it.
Okay.
I'm
Sorry?
arguing that that statement's more about, is it more what you can do or what you know, right? I mean, my entire job is having analytical skills. I don't know anything. What I do. Seriously. I analyze other people's thoughts.
Cool.
I don't really have any of my own.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Please.
do you have a distinction between data and knowledge?
Okay.
Ubiquitous.
Yes, and that I'm going to say is for another discussion. It's a fascinating topic, but we're going to run out of time if we go down that. But that really is the next logical step of the argument. Exactly. Do I need to hold data? Well, obviously we don't. Okay. Sorry, let me just hide this. Okay, one more. And this one is exactly what you were just talking about. New scholarly forms of authoring, publishing, and researching continue to emerge, but appropriate metrics for evaluating them increasingly and far too often lag behind. And the question here, so let me clarify this one. The statement that I'm after here is that I can't reference a blog. I can't reference a Twitter feed. Can I cite Wikipedia? Absolutely. And please vote now. And, there's a good one. Someone from the agree camp want to address it? Okay, someone from the disagree camp.
I don't want to keep talking.
Okay, you had a comment? Yeah.
I think it's important to teach students how to understand what's a credible source versus a not credible source, and I think that's the issue, is that they don't understand the difference between, or many first-year students certainly don't understand the difference between a peer-reviewed article in some journal versus something in Wikipedia or some suspect article on a random website.
Yeah.
So I think that's the skill we need to teach them, because when they go out into the world, they need to be able to determine the difference between that content and not run to the library every time they need to find an article.
Right. Here in my notes that I had prepared, which I don't have, so I haven't been referring to them, but I did remember this one question that I wanted to ask. So I'm a faculty, and I haven't published in 2 years, but I got 20,000 Twitter followers reading my 140-word rants. Am I a credible source? Because there are 20,000 people that follow me.
Ashton Kutcher has 1 million followers, but they also make holding hands. But
No.
I think blogs are perfectly credible. I mean, content. There's several profs here at UBC that blog frequently. I work part-time at the School of Journalism, and blogs are used extensively, both by students for research and also to publish their research. So I think just because something's a blog doesn't mean that it's on a spectrum. So there's also.
And I would even say the same thing about Wikipedia, because many students and many of us use it as a jumping off point. We go to a page, we learn something, we get in a little bit deeper because there are articles referenced or other things referenced, and we carry on along the way. So it's still part of research.
Esther?
Depends on who, the credible source is a person, not so much the venue or their communication, or it should be anyway, in my opinion.
Like, if I'm going to use a blog, I want to include that in, and I'll do the research to find out if it's a credible source or a professor in whatever their field is.
Yep.
And ensure that they've got credentials before I ever use that blog.
Yeah. Would you force your students to do that as well?
You've got to be able to identify who a credible source is.
But how do you mark 200 papers and all of the blogs that they've referenced in each of those 200 papers to determine that they've taken from credible sources?
Well,
I'm playing devil's advocate there for sure, but
through experience you get to know who is a credible source and who isn't.
yeah, it's a tough one.
You're in.
Okay, I've got to come back to the dinosaur.
I require that they provide copies of the first page of whatever they use. So I will require that they staple on the back of their term paper that the whole page for their credible internet source, for example, and textbooks, the first page, everything, because of that reason it's impossible.
Okay, you're going to love the next question. Sorry guys, we're running out of time. You're going to love this one. Digital media literacy continues its rise in importance as a key skill in every discipline and profession. Okay, and so I think the idea there, even though students they're writing their papers on Word, on the computer, ultimately it's still a paper-based medium, right? Whether they print it or not, it's still a paper-based medium as opposed to what, in my mind, a three-dimensional HTML digital-rich medium. Oh, I think I stopped that too soon. Sorry, vote again. I just erased you all. Damn technology. Okay, let's see where we're at there. Okay. Someone from the agree camp? Paper is king.
What is more than just showing what you use, it's going through the process of saying why you used it. And I guess you're going down that road too. Because it takes a lot of practice and sophistication to know when something is credible or not.
Yep. So the personal story that I have here, when I did my master's degree, I was told that my thesis in 1995 was an online mathematics support website. And the board, they wouldn't submit it because I couldn't bind it and put it on the shelf in the library. I fought for 6 months. And I eventually did a page dump of my website so that they had something to put onto the shelf. Terribly frustrating. Yes?
I disagree with that, but in terms of agreeing, I think it's kind of cool to be able, like, in terms of finishing my thesis, I had something to hand in. Like, for me, that is cool. I liked that.
Okay.
I had digital components to it, which were on CD, like, and that was, there's something, I don't know, nostalgic about it, I guess.
I like that. Yes?
This is a story too. I had a funny experience 4 or 5 years ago where I knew a woman on this campus who had done an interdisciplinary PhD where her product was interactive CD-ROM where you could explore the architecture of Tenochtitlan and have it all multi-linked with scans.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff and conquistador documents and so on. And she had told me she'd had trouble. I went to the library, to the thesis library, to try and borrow it. And that library was then a room with tables and chairs and signs saying nothing may be taken out of this room. So I went in there and they had to go away and get it. You couldn't just touch things. And they came back first with a Eventually they said, well, the secretary's going away for 20 minutes break, you can use her computer, but
Right.
they have no way of managing this.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Perfect point of illustration. Yes.
I'd like to point out that one is that students never come back. So partly the problem is the problem of archiving and what teachers probably done. But now all theses back to the different format. And in fact, it's not the library doing a decision about things having to be in a paper or hard copy format. That would be in the School of Graduate Studies.
And
You know, like I just scratch the library.
no, yes, fair defense, I agree. And my distinction is actually not the paper medium, it's the medium of creation. You know, couldn't my thesis have had video in it? Couldn't my... But you know what I mean? Let's let the students use all of the available production mediums that they have in order to display their knowledge. I, for one, hate writing. It is a very painful process for me to sit down, you know, that blinking cursor. I hate it.
And you know what, there's tons of things that need to happen in that. I think the point where you came back earlier about the mechanisms for assessing, a lot of the mechanisms are tied into reward mechanisms around
Right.
tenure and promotion, and you know, graduate students feed into being
Yep.
fellowships and being faculty and get on the tenure track, and they are the strongest resistors to moving from paper-based
Yep.
citation-based.
Yeah, absolutely. If it isn't here, it isn't.
The paradigm of how
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's also important to consider that it's the student's experience overall, that it's not one particular unit, because like I look at student development and I can get defensive a lot of them, but it's their experience across their time at an institution.
Yep.
And if there are things like this that really impedes, for example, if a student who has a lot of difficulty writing, but can articulate themselves very clearly,
Mhm.
video that they recorded is, you know,
Right.
what are we doing? Like, how are we providing a disservice to them?
Yep.
Right? And so,
Exactly.
and what is their overall experience? What will they be champions of the university education
Yep.
down the road? And there's even bigger implications on that. So.
Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left, and I'm about a third of the way through the presentation. People talk too much. I did want to toss this one up because this ultimately becomes a really contentious one. Yeah. For those of you at home, Leah is just leaving early. Okay. I'm going to toss this up very quickly. Basically, this is the whole notion of the cost of technology interfering with traditional academic positions. Are we spending too much money on technology? And for sake of time, I'm going to stop and display that one. Wow. Okay. Again, we didn't have any cold dead hands in the room, so not surprising. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to shoot forward and spend the next 10 minutes on actually talking about the report. These are the 6 technologies of the 2010 Horizon Report. Mobile computing, open content, electronic books, simple augmented reality, gesture-based computing, and visual data analysis. Those are the 6. So what I'll do is I've got examples of each of these prepared, and I'll just go through them one by one, and maybe I could get through all of them, and then at the end, if you've got particular questions or comments about them, we'll address those. Just a couple of, little bit of research that came out of the report itself. Abilene Christian University, every student was issued an iPhone or an iPod Touch. Every single student. Houston Community College, I like this one. The group issued mobile devices was found to work on the course during spare moments, such as while waiting for appointments. I actually have found myself at a doctor's appointment yesterday doing work while waiting for the doctor to see me. And course materials are available not only in paper format, but in the mobile access. So what we'll do is show you this is called HotSeat at Purdue University.
Introducing HotSeat, a new mobile web application developed.
Oh, should I have done that? Yeah, but now I've probably just frozen it up completely. I shouldn't have done that. Oh. Oh, okay, I'm going to stop that one. Okay, very quickly. So the HotSeat, we're actually trying to work with this in Sauder. It's the whole back channel. It's the whole notion that students can sit in the classroom with whatever device they've got, and they can contribute to what's going on in the classroom. And so Purdue has developed this tool called HotSeat. It's a commercial product. Oh, please. Oh, the blue circle. I find this fascinating because, how many of you remember your university days and you wanted to talk to your neighbor, you wanted to comment about something that was going on, and you'd go, and you get yelled at or people would shush you. And it's like, well, I'm trying to engage. I want to understand what this is. I don't want to just sit and be quiet. And now I'm totally done. I knew I shouldn't have pressed that button. Yeah, we can move to open content. Let me, I will just do a quick Control-Alt-Delete. So the other pages that were inside of there, the next one is called Flat Knowledge. And it is an ability for professors to collate an entirely electronic and free version for all students of textbooks. It's online, it's free, totally accessible. You can make it here. And to the students, it's free. If they want a printout version to take with them, they have to pay $25. I see a revolution coming where students are just going to refuse to pay $150 for that textbook that they're using 50 pages out of.
So that's the ebook.
Open content. This is actually open content, under the open content section. So
That's the professor's content, right?
Creative Commons content. Content that's been... That's correct, yes, that's right. The professor filters it, packages it, and presents it to the students, yes. Yes. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, yeah, well, okay, I'll say yes.
Copyright law that's going through the comments, everyone needs to pay attention to.
Okay, thank you.
I think Creative Commons will be exempt from the new copyright laws. Really? So,
Pay attention to the copyright legislation.
right.
Pay very good attention to the copyright legislation. Because it's being run by the big commercial people, and it has a huge impact on education.
Interesting. Can you expand on it a little bit?
I don't know more.
Okay.
Watch Michael Geist, he publishes on the web.
Is it a blog?
Is it the University of Ottawa? Maybe it's the blog.
Wow. Okay, you know what? The time that we got left, I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to bail out. The one that I really wanted to show you was the visualization. This visual... Yeah, no, it's the problem. I run Windows on a Macintosh. This visualization is a visual autopsy. Some of you may have seen this where there's the touch screens. Like this whole table is a screen, and I can bring a body out, and I can roll it over, and I can dissect it, and I can flip it, and I can look at the brain, I can look at the neurological, I can look at any of the components. Absolutely fascinating.
And they have all the little slices.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can be put together in different ways.
Yep, absolutely. Another one was the data analysis. Basically, I interpret this as three-dimensional analysis of data, right? We get these huge spreadsheets, and it's very difficult to articulate what's actually happening. And what this does is takes data and makes a three-dimensional representation of it that's live. So there's one that this website shows infant mortality rates over 100 years. And what it does is the continents expand and contract and do all kinds of really cool stuff. And it's just phenomenal the amount of acquisition, and again, back to that acquisition, understanding by simply looking at this 5-second video as opposed to trying to look at columns and reams of data. Okay, I'm done. My computer's done, so I'm done. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope we get to carry on the conversation again in other forums. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob, for all your presentation. For all of you who want to know more about the new Horizon Report, just Google Horizon Report 2010. We didn't print out copies for you because that would be crazy. And so, but you can, we've got one.
Oh, we do have one.
This just showed up. So, looks like it's going to be printed out. And then you can flip through and find the 6 technologies that are sort of on the horizon.
That I would have talked about.
And then I think incorporate some of these trends and challenges that we've talked about, because it's just been great to have this really interactive discussion. So thank you for coming. Thank you, Rob, for all of your preparation and energy.
Great. Thank you.
We